All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of Meralco Power Up Live, Powering Business Resilience. Power Up Live is a webinar series which aims to empower small and medium businesses through Meralco services and business solutions. My name is Kevin Lapena, and once again, I'm going to be your host for this afternoon's program. So for today's topic, we're going to be talking about electric mobility solutions for sustainable business operations. This is very interesting and a timely subject, considering that the government just recently approved the waiving of tariffs on electric vehicles, which is expected to spur the demand for EVs amid rising fuel prices. And Meralco assures you that it fully supports the transition to electric transportation, and we are committed to bring about a greener, cleaner, and safer environment for everyone. And so, for this afternoon, our speakers will be talking about the following topics. First, the Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act, or EVIDA. Second, we have Meralco's Green Mobility Initiatives. And lastly, Meralco's subsidiary, eSakay, will discuss their electric mobility solutions that you can use for your business to help you embark on your own green mobility journey. Rest assured that you can always count on Meralco and its partners like the Department of Energy and eSakay, who will be joining us today to help you operate more efficiently and more sustainably. And we hope that you're going to be listening attentively and participate in the discussions later on with our panel of experts. But before we proceed with the presentations, I just want to check how you guys are doing so far. So with that, may I please invite everyone to click on the reactions at the bottom of your screen and select the emoji that best represents your mood this afternoon. Okay? Just to get a quick feel of the room, just click on the emoji symbol at the bottom of your screen and please click on what you feel best represents how you feel at the moment. All right? So just checking in on everybody. We see some hearts already popping up. Thumbs up. Thank you very much for pointing that out. A smiley face, perhaps, some suggestions on how you feel. If you're feeling pretty, how do you say this? Apathetic, or you don't know how you feel, just a thumbs up would do, or some hearts would be helpful as well. All right, so we're going to give you a few more seconds to put in how you feel. 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much to everybody for sharing with us more or less what your mood is as we begin with this afternoon's program. Okay, so now we hope all of you will stay tuned and remain engaged throughout our webinar as we have a lot in store for you guys this afternoon. But before we move on with our program, we'd like to remind everybody to please find a good spot where your internet signal is strong, because we wouldn't want you to miss out on the interesting discussions and exciting games that we're going to be playing later on. And if you have any comments or questions about the presentations, please feel free to go ahead and type them in the Q&A tab below so we can address these during our panel discussion. Should you have account-related concerns, you may also send your message through the link that we will also be sending in our chat box. And as always, to add fun to our Power Up Live sessions, we're going to be playing games as well. So please make sure to listen attentively so you can answer the trivia questions that we will be asking after each of our presentations. Our lucky winners will be receiving special prizes from Meralco. Okay, so with all that being mentioned, why don't we get this webinar officially started? To formally welcome everyone to this Meralco Power Up Live session, please give it up for the Assistant Vice President and Head of Meralco Biz. Please put your hands together for the very lovely Miss Joy P. Mendoza.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for making time to attend today's webinar. Please allow me to welcome you all and acknowledge the presence of our distinguished guests. First, from the Department of Energy, Director Patrick Aquino. Same goes to our eSakay COO, Carl Magsusi, and our Product Manager from Meralco, Anthony Agoncillo. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us today. Sustainable agenda and the reduction of carbon footprint has long been around the corner for quite a while. With a growing demand for electric vehicles or EVs and the rising of fuels, the government recently approved the removal of tariff on electric vehicles to encourage adoption and use. This will not only address climate change, but also drive the growth of the EV industry in the country. Meralco fully supports this sustainable agenda for a means of transportation, and we have invited experts today to give you more information on this law and regulations on electric vehicles, as well as electric mobility solutions for your business. I hope today's session, this is actually our last Power Up Live webinar for the year, will be very productive and highly relevant for all of you. I also look forward to seeing you in our future Power Up Live series events as we continue to bring energy, services, and solutions that can power a brighter tomorrow for your business. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat at ingat po tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Ms. Joy Mendoza, at napakagandang umaga din sa inyo. All right, so with that, let's now call in our first speaker for this afternoon. He will be giving us an overview of the Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act, or EVIDA. A warm welcome to the Director of the Energy Utilization Management Bureau of the Department of Energy. Everybody, please welcome Director Patrick Aquino.
Good afternoon. I'm Patrick T. Aquino, Director of the Energy Utilization Management Bureau, or EUMB of the Department of Energy DOE, and I will be presenting to you the salient points of the Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act, or EVIDA, and the DOE's efforts for the adoption of EVs and EV charging stations in the country. My presentation outline will tackle about the EV industry situation in the country, to give you an overview where we are now, the salient points of the EVIDA, and our existing programs, projects, and initiatives in mainstreaming the adoption of EVs in the country. Based on our data, there are around 249 AC chargers, 59 fast DC chargers, and 21 battery swapping stations, with a total of 329 EV charging stations located nationwide. Majority of the EV charging stations are located in the National Capital Region, Calabarzon, and Central Luzon. Those outside of Luzon are mostly battery swapping stations. The monitoring of existing EV charging stations in the country is under the implementation of DOE Department Circular DC 2021-07-003, or the EV Charging Stations Policy Guidelines, which is the preliminary guidelines for any EVCS-related activities. This department circular will be updated and harmonized to be consistent with the provisions of the EVIDA and the EVIDA IRR. Based on the data provided by the Land Transportation Office, there are around 13 million registered motor vehicles, of which the number of registered EVs from 2021 is around 9,000 units, and this includes 378 electric public utility vehicles. This is further classified as presented on the screen, with the majority of the EVs as motorcycles or tricycles. On April 15, 2022, Republic Act No. 11697, or the EVIDA, lapsed into law. It aims to ensure the country's energy security by reducing reliance on imported fuel for the transportation system. The EVIDA IRR was jointly issued on September 5 of this year and took effect on September 20, 2022. DOE is the lead agency in the implementation of the EVIDA. This is also in cooperation and coordination with other national government agencies such as the Department of Transportation, Trade and Industry, Science and Technology, Energy Regulatory Commission, Environment and Natural Resources, Public Works and Highways, the National Economic Development Authority, and local government unit. The EVIDA calls for the development of the comprehensive roadmap for the electric vehicle industry by relevant government agencies to be consolidated by the DOE. Its four components include EV and charging station to be developed by the DOE in coordination with the DOTR, manufacturing with DTI as lead, research and development with DOST as lead, and human resource development to be headed by the DTI. As a brief background on the EVIDA IRR, Its salient points include the mandated EV share in corporate and government fleets of at least 5%, the construction of charging stations in dedicated parking slots for EVs, fiscal and non-fiscal incentives, as well as prohibited acts, fines, and penalties. As an overview of the government's aspiration and trust in the implementation of EVs by 2040, all new vehicles sold are 100% electric. Part of the CREVI includes the harmonized standards and specifications for EVs and charging stations, the promotion and development of local manufacturing and EV industry, R&D, and capacity building. The DOE has initially facilitated the development of the CREVI with Clean Air Asia and conducted a ride shop activity to gather insights from the EV industry. The CREVI is targeted to be issued in the first quarter of 2023. Ongoing and implemented DOE programs on EVs include the introduction of the next generation vehicles, electric vehicles, hybrid and plug-in hybrid, to promote the use of efficient and environmentally friendly alternative fuel vehicles through the use of next-generation vehicles donated by the government of Japan, the demonstration of fast EV chargers, and test the use of locally fabricated fast chargers and evaluate their safety and efficiency for e-trikes and integration of renewable energy, the market transformation through the introduction of energy-efficient electric vehicles projects where 3,000 locally manufactured high-quality e-trike units with lithium-ion battery technology paved the way for the development of relevant EV safety and performance standards for the transport sector, Emergency Response Protocol or ERP for alternative fuel vehicles, which will be adopted by the Regional Bureau of Fire Protection in addressing concerns for these types of vehicles, including EVs, the development of an accreditation of the certification protocol for the minimum energy performance for EV charging stations, as well as the Technical Education Skills Development Authority aligned electric vehicle technician course module with a national certification level 2. This concludes my presentation regarding the EV programs in the Philippines, and we are grateful that you are one with us to further develop the industry. Once again, I'm Director Patrick T. Aquino of the Energy Utilization Management Bureau of the Department of Energy. Thank you and have a nice day.
Aquino, really appreciate that wonderful presentation. Okay, so by the way, for those of you who may want a copy of Director Aquino's presentation, a recording of this webinar will be uploaded on the Meralco website, all right? Once the link is available, it will be shared to everybody who registered during this afternoon's program. Also, if you have any comments or questions in our presentations, please feel free to go ahead and type them into the Q&A tab below your window, okay? We're going to be addressing them during our panel discussion later on in this afternoon's program. Meanwhile, I think it's time to play a quick trivia challenge just to check if you guys were paying attention, okay? So we're going to be asking a question based on Director Aquino's presentation that you just watched a few seconds ago. All you need to do is just to type in your answer into the chat box, and whoever sends the correct answer ahead of everybody else gets to win a special prize, okay? So please pay attention because here is our first trivia question for this afternoon. What does EVIDA stand for? Type your answers into the chat box now. Okay, so name of the game again is whoever answers correctly the fastest, okay? So even if we see a selection or a variation of people who got the correct answer, paunahan po ito. The first person that gets it right will win. I-announce po namin yung mga winners pagkatapos po ng program, so please stay tuned for you to be able to find out if you get to win a special prize, okay? So pretty much everybody with similar answers. I'm going to give you guys a few more seconds to type your answers in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that is it. Why don't we reveal the correct answer for our very first question? EVIDA stands for Electric Vehicle Industry Development Act. So to those that got it right, congratulations to you guys. But if you are the first one to send in the correct answer, then you will get to win a prize. We're going to be verifying and checking out all the entries, and we will be announcing the official list of winners by the end of the program. So please stay tuned. Okay, so to switch gears once again, moving on to our next topic. Meralco will be giving us an introduction to electric vehicles. So with that, let's all give a warm welcome to the Electric Vehicle Product Manager of Meralco, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Anthony Agoncillo.
Hi, afternoon, everyone. I'm Anthony Agoncillo, EV Product Manager of Meralco. I'm going to be dovetailing from the presentation of Director Patrick Aquino, and I will go through a quick 101 on electric vehicles, as well as what Meralco has done to utilize this technology and help us in our sustainability efforts for the company. Let's start the presentation, please. Okay, so quickly, as an overview, I'll do a quick 101 on everything that we have looked at in terms of electric vehicle and its technologies. And then, as mentioned, I will go through what we're doing in terms of our green mobility program for Meralco. Okay. So what is an EV? Okay, an electric vehicle is basically a vehicle that has an electric motor that runs on a rechargeable battery, okay, that can be charged either through external or internal means. And there are basically 4 electric vehicle types. There is an electric vehicle that is light electric vehicles, which are electric bikes and electric motorcycles. Okay, we also have hybrid electric vehicles, which run directly from the motor and that's connected to a battery and a fuel system that is run in the car. We have a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, wherein the battery in the vehicle is charged when the car is plugged in. And we have what is called a battery EV, okay, that where the electric vehicle utilizes the battery installed in the vehicle and is charged from internal and external sources. And if you can see, there are actually EV models that are already available in the market that are comparable to the ICE vehicles, no? To the internal combustion engine vehicles. We have electric scooters, electric bikes, electric motorcycles, electric tricycles, electric jeepneys, shuttles, cars, vans, pickups, and even buses. So any type of EV that you would want is already available in the market and can be utilized for your business. How does it work? So an EV is actually a very simple vehicle as compared to its ICE component. No? So an EV has a motor, a battery, a controller, and basically the powertrain of the whole system. It is nothing different from the AC cars that you used to run when you were younger. Okay, so it is really just a bigger manifestation of those types of vehicles. And because of this, it is more efficient to run. EVs also charge from an external source. So as mentioned, you can utilize an EV charging station where you can plug in these vehicles to get the charge. And the chargers are either what are called AC fast, no? So they utilize alternating current technology, or DC fast, wherein the charge of these batteries can become faster. The electric vehicles have also different charging times, so based on the available charging units. So if you utilize, for example, a 7 kilowatt AC charger, the charging time would probably be around 8 hours. But if you utilize a DC charger that is, let's say, 180 kilowatts, the charging time goes as low as 30 minutes and even less. So the development of the technology for EV charging is basically coming fast. And we're looking at hopefully going down to around 5 minutes for charging, which will already simulate what is happening already with fuel type vehicles. Now, electric vehicles usually are anywhere from 200 to 400 kilometers per full charge, but we're already seeing the development as well of new EVs that run anywhere from 600 kilometers, even up to 1,000 kilometers per full charge. So again, this is more than enough to utilize for commercial purposes. Okay, so what is the benefit of an EV over its conventional vehicle? No? Of course, the first thing that is the bigger benefit, no, is that the EVs can be charged, okay, utilizing electricity, and electricity is much cheaper to utilize, okay, than fuel. Best yet is you can utilize solar energy Okay, because solar, as we know, is free once you have installed the proper solar PV panels. This will allow you to be able to, again, use basically zero carbon from your vehicles and then utilize this to power your vehicles. Okay, the charging is also, again, as mentioned, coming fast. No, there's already technologies that will allow electric vehicles to be able to run and charge at any point in time, anywhere that you have an available charging facility. And this is all being made available through the EVIDA that was passed by the DOE. Okay. I will now go through cost efficiency now. So how we do things in Meralco is we test electric vehicles in terms of how they perform, in terms of their range, their consumption, and basically how it compares to conventional gasoline fueled vehicles. No? So because of, and through our Meralco Power Lab, we have been able to test electric bikes, electric motorcycles. And as you can see in the chart here, when we tested these electric bikes and e-motorcycles, we have been able to get a cost per kilometer of just 20 centavos to 30 centavos per kilometer versus a conventional motorcycle which you run close to 1 peso per kilometer. So that's almost anywhere from 60 to 70% savings that you can get if you run an e-bike or e-motorcycle. Similarly, if you utilize an electric shuttle, an e-jeep, or even an e-coaster, from our Power Lab, we were able to see that it costs anywhere from 4 pesos to 5 pesos per kilometer versus a conventional that will run anywhere from 9 to 10 pesos. So for four-wheeled electric vehicles, we're able to save 40 to 50% of your operating costs, which would again make your electric vehicle be more cost efficient to operate and to run, providing savings again for your companies. So what has Meralco done in terms of electric vehicles? So we have walked the talk, as we like to say it, and we have deployed 128 electric vehicles already, and that is composed of electric cars, electric vans, electric pickups, and these have been deployed in our business centers as well as in our sector offices, so that our frontliners will be able to use these in the field. And because of this, we have also deployed charging facilities in our sector offices to support the deployment of our EV fleet. We have put this initially in 5 of our sector offices, but by the end of 2022, we would have completed 10 sector offices plus our head office here in Pasig, here in Ortigas, so that we have already a full coverage of electric vehicle deployments in our franchise area, so that anywhere that an electric vehicle of our fleet goes, we are able to provide charging support. The use of EVs has been very well accepted by our frontliners. They have been very happy, and we are happy to note that this is something also that we think your employees would also be benefiting from when you do shift to electric vehicles. So I would like to invite everyone to start shifting to electric vehicles, start converting your fleets, and let's have an electrified and sustainable future for everybody. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony Agoncillo. Really appreciate that wonderful presentation. Again, we're going to be sharing a copy of the webinar recording to all our attendees once it's been uploaded onto the Meralco website. So if you have any questions for Mr. Agoncillo, all you need to do is please send them in through our Q&A tab, which you can find at the bottom part of your screens. But in the meantime, why don't we go with another trivia challenge lifted from Mr. Agoncillo's presentation. Again, please be ready to type in your answer into the chat box, because the first person to get the correct answer will be our winner. Okay, so please pay attention. Here is our second trivia question for this afternoon. In Mr. Agoncillo's presentation, he mentioned 12 EV models. Give at least one EV model. So please type your answers into the chat box now. All right, really happy to see a lot of people cooperating and participating. There are 12 possible answers here. We're only looking for one. And the quickest person to type in any of these models will get to win. So since medyo marami siya, we're going to be flashing the correct answers in right now. Why don't we reveal these 12 possible answers? So if you answered any of these models, congratulations in advance. So we're looking for e-scooter, e-bike, e-trike, e-motorcycle, e-shuttle, e-forklift, e-car, e-pickup, e-van, e-jeep, and e-bus. Again, if any of these were the ones that you typed in, and kung ikaw yung pinakamabilis na nag-type, we're gonna just wait till the end of the program because we will be announcing the official list of winners later on. Okay, thank you again to everybody for participating. And to move on with our very last speaker for this afternoon, we will be sharing, or that person will be sharing with us, some valuable electric mobility solutions from eSakay. So with that, please give it up for the Chief Operating Officer of eSakay, Mr. Carl Magsusi.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Kevin, for that kind introduction. And thank you also to Director Patrick Aquino and to my colleague, Mr. Anthony Agoncillo, for that overview of Evida. You know, what is it really now in the Philippines when it comes to electric vehicles and the industry, and also from the side of Meralco, what we have been doing, you know, in the past, I would say 10 years that we have been looking into electric vehicles. And for this, I would like to present what eSakay now, you know, can do to help in order to accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles here in the Philippines. So let's start our presentation. Now, again, I'd like to share with everyone first who we are. Well, who is eSakay? Sino ba tong eSakay na to? Ano siya sa Meralco? And how can it help in accelerating the adoption of electric vehicles? And of course, to be able to back that, we'd like to share with you what we have done in the last 4 years that we have been operating as a company. And finally, I hope to be able to share with you some of the solutions that we can provide and you can consider as we look into the adoption of electric vehicles into our business operations. So moving on. Who is eSakay? I'm sure lahat po tayo are very much familiar already with who Meralco is. How would we not know Meralco? Kung walang Meralco, madilim ang buhay. Ang Meralco, may liwanag ang buhay, right? And it has been, the biggest power distribution company in the country, providing probably more than half of the electrical requirement of the Philippines. And of course, anything that has to do with power, Meralco has a stake in it, whether it's in generation, in distribution, or in the retail supply of electricity. But not many perhaps know that there are also a lot of subsidiaries under Meralco that go beyond the meter and provide other services, that complement the business of power. And one of which is our company called eSakay. And who is eSakay? eSakay basically is an electric mobility solutions company set up by Meralco to accelerate the adoption of this technology, this mode of transport, in our lives, in our businesses, in our personal routine. But the difference here is that we at eSakay would like to be able to provide you with a tailor-fit and end-to-end EV and charging infrastructure solutions. Why am I saying end-to-end? I think what is very clear also with the presentation that was done by Tonichi Agoncillo earlier was that when you talk about EVs, you talk about an ecosystem. And when you talk about an ecosystem, there are different components that comprise the whole ecosystem. You have the electric vehicle on one end. You have the charging infrastructure or the charger solution on the other end. And then, of course, what gels all together these two components is the electrical infrastructure needed to support that whole ecosystem. So it's not as simple po as saying that papalitan ko na itong diesel o gasolina kung sasakyan ng EV and then that's it. No. no? You have to consider the whole ecosystem for you to be able to realize the full benefit of using an EV, you know. And that is what we provide at Isakai. We want to be able to understand the type of usage for this EV that you want to integrate into your business, how it will be used, and from there we design an end-to-end solution that will fully fit, you know, the purpose of your EV, so that you can fully benefit from the advantages of using EV. Now, let's backtrack po, no? Bakit mo nasasabi na si Isakai kaya niyang gawin yang ganyang mga bagay, no, about EVs? I think what is clear here, Isakai was established back in 2018, you know. And again, in the last 4 years that we have been operating and deploying different types of EVs and charging infrastructures, no, solutions, no, in general, we have come to understand the different pain points, no, of the current Philippine EV landscape, no? And I would like to highlight on some of those that we hope to be able to address, no? First and foremost, no, when you talk about the supply chain side, no, punta muna po tayo sa supply chain side, diba? Sabi nga ni Tonichi a while ago, marami nang actually available, no, in terms of EV types, even in terms of charger types, you know. But I think the challenge right now in the supply chain, no, and in the EV industry in general, is that many of these suppliers are working very fragmentedly, you know, and they work in silos. Meaning, you know, EV suppliers are doing their own thing, pushing EVs. Charger suppliers are also doing their own thing, pushing the use of chargers. No? But at the end of the day, as I've said, we have to see these things all together as one for the whole EV ecosystem to work, you know. And then when it comes to EV models, Tonichi is right, no? The different types of EVs are already available. We have from 2 wheels, different types of e-scooters, e-motorcycles, e-bikes, no? And then from the 3 wheels, e-trikes. 4 wheels, we have some e-cars out there, e-SUVs, e-pickups, e-vans, no? But if you look at the overall availability of different brands and models, no, there's still pretty much very limited models to choose from, you know, and models that would probably suit specific business needs. So those are the challenges on the supply side that we are seeing. But hopefully, you know, with the EVIDA that we have right now and the proposed reduction or removal, temporary removal of tariffs for EVs, we hope to be able to see more of these EV models and EV types, you know, coming into the country soon. Now, the other side of the chain, which is the customer side or the user side, kayo po, no, aming mga audience, no? What are the challenges? First and foremost, we know the biggest hurdle for us to get into EVs probably is the economics, no? Many people actually are now getting excited about EVs, but the challenge is it's still too expensive, you know. Prices of EVs are still about what, 2 to 3 times more than the comparable ICE, you know. But again, hopefully with these developments that we are hearing about policies on electric vehicle and how it can be supported in the country, you know, we'll start to propagate the introduction of more affordable EVs in the market. And then another thing that is challenging, no, the user end, is on the lack of pre and after sales support, no. What is pre? When we talk about pre-sales, yan yung mga financing, di ba? Alam po natin, not many banks or financial institutions are willing, no, to provide loans or financing immediately, no, to electric vehicles, no, or anything that has to do with electric technology, no. It's still something that they are conservative about. And then on the after-sales side, again, there is this issue of sino ang magre-repair nitong mga EVs once the warranties are out, no? Aside from the casas or the distributors of these EVs, no, where else can I bring these EVs, no, to have them fixed or maintained? Where do I get the parts? So those are some of the apprehensions that we're seeing from the customers. And because of all these, no, there's now this, what we call FUD, or the fear, uncertainty, and doubt about getting into EVs. No? And I would like to even correct the two words here, low awareness. I think in the last 2-3 years, especially with the support of the government and with the pushing, no, with the very committed push of our director Patrick Aquino from DOE, no, about EVs, no, there has been a huge increase about the awareness on electric vehicles, no, especially also because of the rising fuel costs, no. But again, it's not just about awareness. Now, what we need to increase is perhaps the education of the market, on how EVs can actually benefit and how EVs can actually work for them, for their businesses and for their personal use. And then finally, and the biggest enabler is really government policy and government regulation. As we know, and I believe si Director Patrick would agree with this, that really the government plays as the primary enabler, of the EV industry. If we look at the mature markets in Europe, in China, in the US, they were able to accelerate the adoption of this new technology because of the very strong government regulation, incentive, and primary support, on electric vehicles. Subsidies, not just for the users, but also for the sellers, for the manufacturers, for the distributors. Provision of public charging stations that are subsidized by the government, etc. But again, we are very optimistic, and now we are seeing the end of the tunnel. In the long march towards the adoption of EVs in the Philippines. We started working on EVs in the Philippines and lobbying for EVs in the Philippines way back in 2007, 2008, when the Electric Vehicle Association of the Philippines was established. And now, I think now more than ever are we seeing a clearer view, of where we are leading towards, in the EV industry, and with the strong support of DOE and Director Patrick Aquino here, that things are starting to unfold. And we are at the cusp of a takeoff here for the electric vehicle industry. And so, given these pain points, that we have realized in the last 4 years that we have been operating as a company in providing electric vehicle solutions, we would like to be able to address, in one way or another, these pain points, by setting up our company as an integrator of this ecosystem. You will liken siguro po Isakay to a wedding planner. Alam po ninyo ang wedding planner, di ba? Siya po ang magpaplano ng pagpapakasal ninyo. Gusto niyo pong magpakasal? Ako na po mag-aayos ng simbahan, ng reception area, o mga bulaklak. Pupunta na lang po kayo sa kasal niyo at magpapakasal at mag-e-enjoy. Basically, that is our role, as Isakay, to be the integrator of the ecosystem, to provide you with the tailor-fit solution, for your needs and for your company. Now, let's go to the track record. So, bakit ko nasasabi po na kayang gawin po ito ng Isakay? Because that's precisely what we have been doing in the last 4 years. In the last 4 years that we have been operating, we have deployed more than 230 electric vehicles of different types, where you're talking about 2 wheels, 3 wheels, 4 wheels. As a matter of fact, in the very recent past, actually just 3 weeks ago, we have just deployed the first 6-wheeler EV, for use for logistics to one of our clients in the logistics business. So we have actually invested our time and effort in deploying EVs to learn more about it. I think that is the best way to learn. More than the readings in the internet and following all the developments abroad about EVs. The best way to really learn about EVs is to deploy them, to implement these programs for proof of concept models. And also in the last 4 years, we have also deployed more than 120 charging stations. And again, these are different types of charging stations, from two-wheel charging pods, to AC chargers for four wheels, to fast DC chargers. And again, all these deployments are in lockstep of each other. Lagi po, I think the common question is, ano bang unahin, mag-deploy muna ng charger para magkaroon ng EVs, o magkaroon muna ng EVs bago mag-deploy ng charger? Sa amin po, it's plain and simple. To have business economic sense, to do it, the deployment has to be in lockstep of each other. When you deploy an EV, you deploy a charger. I think that should always be the rule of thumb, at least now that we are still in the development stage of our industry. Okay, so I would just like to share with you some of the deployments that we have done in the last 4 years. These are what you see here are some of the electric PUVs, or public utility vehicles, that we have deployed in support of some of the local government units and cooperatives that we have partnered with. And you could see here po, mga electric tricycles, electric jeeps, modern electric jeeps. Yan po ang mga na-deploy po na namin for the public transport side. And then for the private EV deployments, we have actually have a good number of private institutions and companies and industries where we have provided EVs for their operations. Of course, first and foremost po, ang aming mother company, Meralco po, where we have been deploying electric shuttles within our complex para po supportahan yung mga empleyado na malaki po kasi, as you know, ang Meralco or complex po sa Ortigas, napakalaki po, So we are able to utilize electric shuttles instead of gas-powered vehicles like tricycles or buses or jeeps, to transport our guests and our employees around the complex. We also have electric vans that we deploy for use for shuttling employees and students. We have deployed electric vehicles for logistics use. As I mentioned, one of our clients is a logistics company wherein we have already provided electric vans and a light electric truck for delivery. As a matter of fact, he is the first logistics company to use an electric van for delivery. And his first client is actually IKEA Philippines. And then we have also supported some companies, utility companies, such as MPTC. We provided them electric pickups that they are now testing for use in patrolling their tollways. So those are just some of the private EV deployments that we have done in the last 4 years. In terms of charging deployments, again, we've deployed different types of chargers, from the simple chargers for electric scooters and electric bikes, which we have installed for McDonald's, for the use of electric trikes in Ayala Alabang Village, and in other barangays, and then to a fast charging station, 175 kilowatt DC charger that we have installed for PGA cars in EDSA when they launched the Porsche Taycan here in the Philippines. So again, the experience has been on the deployment of different type of charging solutions for different needs. So I just like to highlight some specific projects, where you can actually refer to and think, perhaps this is something that I can also consider for my business, if you are in that industry. Like, for example, this client of ours, Mober Philippines, as I mentioned, this is just a boutique, small logistics company for now. But the unique proposition of this logistics company is that he wants to be the first logistics company to be using a full fleet of electric vehicles. And we have started with that, with this account in IKEA Philippines. And we are set to deploy more EVs. As a matter of fact, for 2023, we're looking at deploying at least 50 more EVs for him, for different clients who have already signified their interest of getting his services for these EV delivery vans. Now, this is another example, no, of our latest engagement, no, with Robinson's Land Corporation, who has been the partner of Meralco as well for many of its sustainable programs, like the installation of solar panels in its different commercial malls, and the latest of which is the establishment of their charging infrastructure. And this is where we help them not only put it up, no, but actually design it, to conceptualize it, to design it, and to implement, no, install all these charging infrastructure. While all the rest, no, we're focused about putting chargers for four wheels. No, we told Robinsons, when you talk about EVs, it's not just about electric cars. When you talk about EVs, you talk about 2 wheels, 3 wheels, 4 wheels. And ano ba yung maraming pumupunta rin sa mall? No? Marami rin yung mga naka 2 wheels. No? Especially may mga electric scooter, electric bikes. No? And we actually encourage them to use those types of mobility. No? So we installed several charging pods in 3 of their malls, in Galleria, in Magnolia, and Robinsons Tagaytay, no? To have charging pods for 2 wheels, for e-bikes and e-scooters and e-motorcycles, as well as for their 4 wheels. No? So they have an AC charger as well. And the difference also that we did, no, for Robinsons is let's be consistent with the green platform. No? If you will notice, if you've been to Robinsons Galleria and you've seen their AC charger there, no, for an electric vehicle, it has live plants as its backdrop wall, no? Green. So really to emphasize, no, that we are serious about the sustainability aspect, no, of going electric. It's not just about the economics of things, but more importantly is really the sustainability aspect, the environmental impact that going EV can benefit all of us. And finally, this is another service that we are providing. For example, in Ateneo de Manila University, as I've mentioned, we do e-shuttle services. No? So in Ateneo po, before, alam niyo po, yung sa campus po sa Katipunan, malaking campus, dati po ang mga umiikot po dyan, mga tricycle, no? Para iikot ang mga estudyante, ang mga guro sa different buildings. No? And Ateneo, no, back in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, or 2015, no, decided to acquire some EVs, no, for use as shuttle within the campus. And then eventually, no, they realized it takes more than just buying EVs. We need someone who's knowledgeable to run it, to operate it, to maintain them, no, so that we really fully benefit from using EVs. So they started with these EVs. We continued on by managing it, operating it for them. And now they're actually even leasing more EVs from us because they see that there's a bigger demand, especially now that schools are back on a face-to-face setup. So we are very happy with how we are able to support Ateneo and their green initiative to have electric vehicles within the campus. So what can we provide you, Isakay? At the end of the day, as I've mentioned, we are your wedding planner. We want to provide you with the end-to-end green mobility solution. We want to be able to help you identify, is there a need? And if there's a need, how can we cater to that need? And then plan it out, and then implement it and execute. So those are the very simple ways on how we would be helping you out. And what is also good as a wedding planner, as I mentioned, we are brand agnostic, meaning we are not a distributor or a seller of a particular type of EV or a brand of EV or a particular type of charger or brand of charger. We are partnered with the quality, reliable providers of EVs and chargers. I think that is also the benefit of us being in this business in the last 4 years. We have already basically tried every supplier out there in the country today when it comes to EVs and chargers. So we know who are the good ones, who are the reliable ones, and who we will be sticking with when it comes to providing the best value, tailor-fit solution for our clients. And when you talk about electric vehicle, we can do both either supply or services. When we say supply, of course, there are clients who Di ba? Kumbaga sa wedding, ako na, kaya ko na yung simbahan, kaya ko na yung reception. Kailangan ko na lang bulaklak, hanapan mo ako ng bulaklak. We can do that for you. No? So we can, for EVs, if you need outright supply of EVs, we can provide you depending on the type of EV that you would like to have for your business. Or others may not have the capacity to immediately invest on EVs and would just like to try it out first and would be willing to pay on a monthly basis for using EVs. Then we also have the managed services, for EVs. So meaning you can lease the EV from us, we can operate it for you, we'll take care of it for you, and you just pay a monthly fee for this service. Okay. And for the charging infrastructure, same thing. We're able to supply, set up, and integrate any type of charging infrastructure in lockstep with the EV deployment that you would like to set up for your businesses. And from a variety of you can choose from a variety of charging infrastructure and charging pods. From a wall type charging pod, which is about 2 to 6 kilowatt type of charger that can charge mga e-bikes, e-scooters, e-trikes, e-motorcycles, to an AC type of charger that can have a capacity of a 7 or a 22 kilowatt power output, that can charge 4 wheels, to a fast charger, from a 20 to a 350 kilowatt fast charger station. So those are the things that we can provide in terms of charging infrastructure. But then again, as I've mentioned, we always would like to provide you with the end-to-end integrator, because at the end of the day po, each need is very specific. There's no one product or one setup that applies to all. It will have to be very customized and tailor-fit for your needs. And we can also be your partner, and this is where we will also be guiding you on the Evida, because the Evida also has provisions with regard to what benefits you can get and what are the regulations, what are the policies that need to be followed. And we have been working closely with DOE, with Director Patrick Aquino, with all the other stakeholders in developing the Evida, the IRR, and the CREVI, so that we can really guide you on how best to execute an EV program within your businesses or companies. So I think that basically summarizes everything that we can offer for Isakay, and we really look forward to seeing more adoptions of EVs, especially in our businesses, in our operations. I think if there's one thing good about EVs now, there are already use cases where EVs are very much viable for businesses. And that is what we would like to help you out with. And we hope to be able to communicate with you and share this green future in the transport industry with everyone. Maraming salamat po.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Magsusi. Really brilliant discussion, especially how thorough you went into talking about all these electric vehicles. Okay, so now with that, as you can already tell, we're going to be having another trivia challenge just to check if you guys were paying attention to Carl's presentation just a few seconds ago. So please pay attention, everybody. Here we go with our third trivia question, lifted from Mr. Magsusi's presentation. What do you call Isakay service that provides EVs, manages operations, and maintains parts, tools, or equipment? Go ahead and type your answers into the chat box now. First one to send the correct answer wins a prize. All right. More people typing in again. I can already see correct answers being typed into the chat box, but we're looking for the quickest one who typed it in. Okay, so we're going to give you a few more seconds to type your answers in. 3, 2, 1, and that is it. Why don't we flash the correct answer for this question? Managed services. Okay, so if you answered managed services and you feel that you were the one who typed it in quickest, please stay tuned because at the end of the program, we will be announcing our official list of winners. So once again, thank you very much for your active participation. Later on, we'll be announcing our lucky people who got the correct answers. And with that, I believe our attendees have already posted some comments and questions directed to our speakers. So this brings us now to our panel discussion. All right. So with that, I'd like to call back our speakers, Director Patrick Aquino, Mr. Anthony Agoncillo, and Mr. Carl Magsusi. Hello to the three of you. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. So, Sir Carl, we're going to give you a few more seconds to get a breather kasi medyo mahaba yung naging presentation ninyo. But just in case you have a question already for you, are you good to go? Okay, so for everybody else, I'm going to be directing some of these questions towards you guys specifically, but for those that want to chime in and to add to the questions or the answers, please feel free to interject as you wish, okay? All right, so we'll be starting with our first question for Director Patrick Aquino. Why are charging stations mostly located in the NCR region? Current range of most EVs are more than enough to traverse Metro Manila, even in heavy traffic. Shouldn't more charging stations be installed outside Metro Manila to address range anxiety?
Okay, thank you for the question. I think it was already explained by our colleagues from Isakay, the function by which you have a lot of charging stations already in the National Capital Region. It's because there are a lot of electric vehicles already in the National Capital Region. And the approach that the private sector has actually taken is to pair electric vehicles with the charging infrastructures. And since there is a great concentration of electric vehicles already in the National Capital Region, you will expect that the charging stations will also match the number of electric vehicles. Now, to respond to the other question on addressing range anxiety, that's why the government is doing its consultations on laying out that comprehensive roadmap for the electric vehicle industry, or CREVI, precisely to do the necessary signal to our private sector partners on where they intend to put or set up the charging infrastructure. Note that in terms of what the government is doing, government has started its EV journey. Directionally, for the government's part, we are partnering EVs of government, the one that is being procured by government, with the charging infrastructure. And as of the moment, for the charging infrastructure, servicing government requirements, the agencies concerned are here in the National Capital Region. But as mentioned by our colleagues from Isakay and even in Meralco, once clarity in some of the key staking points come out, then we'll see more interest. Even now, even without the clarity, people are coming in because they realize that the future of mobility is really electric. So we actually laud the private sector for being early in this journey, faster than what government is doing. We just hope that, through events like this, we are clarified in the side of government on what needs to happen so that government and private sector can work together instead of government hindering the advancement of the sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Aquino. Very nice that you mentioned that. Very relevant discussion to have, especially since we're at the cusp of transitioning to the frontier of transportation. Okay, next question. This is for Mr. Agoncillo. What are the different use cases for use of EV in businesses? What are the different use cases for EVs in small to medium-sized businesses, I should say?
Okay, thank you for the question, Kevin. To answer this, I'll go back to the EV models that I showed earlier in my deck. For two-wheeled electric vehicles, specifically electric scooters, electric bikes, electric motorcycles, aside from being able to use it for personal transport, these can be used for deliveries. These are perfect for deliveries because, again, they're very quiet, they're very easy to maintain, and they're very cost efficient. in terms of three-wheeled vehicles, electric tricycles, electric haulers, these can be also used for businesses to carry stuff, heavier stuff that cannot be carried by the two-wheeled vehicles. Okay, electric shuttles, electric forklifts, on the other hand, are necessary implementations that can be utilized with businesses, again for transport purposes, or again for small factories, warehouses, that they can utilize it, especially those that do not want pollution or smoke to be emanating inside their warehouses and stock areas. Electric cars, electric vans can be utilized, on the other hand, for TNVS type. You can utilize it for Grab, and also for transport of your employees, while electric pickups, electric jeeps, electric buses can be utilized for bigger transport hauling purposes. Carl also mentioned, on the other hand, the availability of electric trucks. So this is a new implementation. This is a more welcome advancement in EV technology, that now there are electric vehicles that can accommodate heavy duty use. And it's a good news to us, to hear that, precisely because there's a number of businesses also that are looking for these, again, heavy duty type of uses. Now, the other thing that I would like to open up the eyes of the audience is also touching on the need for charging stations outside of Metro Manila. So if businesses that are present outside of Metro Manila allow their locations and sites to be utilized as charging facilities, that is also an opportunity, again, for business for them. So they can provide the charging station sites, that will be utilized by those that are coming outside of Metro Manila, and use this for longer routes, again, to traverse basically the whole of Luzon or Visayas or Mindanao for that matter, and make EVs more viable for utilization, not only for personal use but also for businesses. So that's it, Kevin. Thank you.
Sir Anthony, thank you very much for that answer. Okay, moving on to our next question. This is going to be directed to Sir Carl. Okay, Mr. Carl Magsusi, what should be our main consideration or lookout if I want to set up an EV fleet for my business?
Thank you, Kevin. For that question, there's a lot of things that we need to consider. First and foremost, the first question that I think you need to ask yourself is, how will EVs actually benefit me? What are my major concerns right now with my fleet? One, do I have a lot of maintenance costs? Because we can immediately show you some total cost of ownership when it comes to EV. I think this was explained earlier by Tonichi, wherein we showed that in certain cases, especially on the total cost of ownership, maintenance of EVs is actually much simpler than your typical ICE or internal combustion engine, because you don't need a periodic change oil, periodic replacement of parts, of belts, of spark plugs, etc. For EVs, basically what you just look after would be your consumables, which are your tires, your brake pads, brake fluid. Your battery, you just need to take care of it by regularly charging it. Your electric motor is pretty much maintenance free. So in terms of total maintenance costs, that definitely has an impact to your business. Second is, I think a good incentive right now of the Evida is the exemption of EVs from the color coding. And for some, especially for the retail market, it may just be a small thing. But I think for businesses, this is a big thing, because now all your cars can be productive 24/7, 5 days, 7 days a week. They can run. There's no downtime for them anymore. So I think that again is another consideration for you to look into EVs for your business. Third, of course, all your other operating costs, fuel cost. We don't see the fuel prices going down anytime soon. At least it will not go down to the level it was probably a year or 2 years ago. Diesel now is almost at 70 pesos per liter. Same goes with gasoline, which is a little over 60 pesos per liter. So that, again, what is the impact of that in your operations? And then, of course, we need to consider the type of usage, of your EVs. Remember, EVs will still have some limitations, in terms of range. So we need to be able to determine, gaano kahaba ba ang tinatakbo ng operation mo every day. How long and how far. So that we can also determine if we need to charge it. We have a separate charging station in different areas, or you can manage with just one full charge every day. So those are the things that we consider. But finally, I think, and the most important of which is, after considering all the economic benefits of going EV, I think the most important here is, are you committed to sustainability? Are you committed to helping out and improving the environment? Because I think yun po yung napaka-importanting aspeto din. Because everyone else will always just look at the economics. And unfortunately, at this point in time, we are not yet at parity, at least with the ICE vehicles, in many usages. So I think while there might be a bit premium on certain instances for EVs, in the use in businesses, but that premium is a small thing compared to the impact that you can, contribute to the future of our younger generation. So let's not forget about the environmental impact of going EV. It's not just all about economics. So that's how I would like to address that question. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much, Sir Carl, for that answer. Just to be clear with everybody here, as mentioned by Sir Carl earlier, just in case may marinig kayo, if anybody is referring to someone as Tonichi, si Mr. Anthony Agoncillo po yun. Nickname niya, Tonichi.
So,
all right? Just to
sorry
be clear
about
with
that.
everybody, baka may ibang tao.
Yeah, Anthony is Turichi. Sorry,
Yeah.
partner.
Pero Sir Anthony, okay lang naman that we address you as Sir Tonichi
Of course,
as we go along this
any.
conversation.
I will respond to both.
Okay. Next question. This is for you again, Director Patrick. How much reduction in EV price will we expect once the tariff reduction has been implemented?
Okay. Just to excite everyone on how that would happen, right now, completely built units, most of the vehicles in the country, based on our latest information, come from the ASEAN region. So it's already at 0% if it's an internal combustion engine, which is comprising of more than, I think, 70% of our market share, based on the country of origin in the 2021 figures from our colleagues from the finance group. So let me just get it out there. What's under the proposed executive order, which we expect as a Christmas gift, because consistent with the Customs and Modernization Tariff Act, or CMTA, the President can only exercise that function when Congress is in session, not in session. And that would happen, I'm being told, on the 17th of December to January 2023. So if any movements will happen, we can expect that suspension of the import tariff, particularly for electric vehicles, pure electric vehicles. That was what was approved from my recollection. So now the million peso question, or millions of peso question, how much can you expect? I did mention that already. There are no electric vehicles coming from the ASEAN region. Right now, that's CBU, so 0%. What is available, however, in the market are those manufactured in China. And we have an aberration when it comes to vehicles coming from China. The traditional or internal combustion engine vehicles coming from China, based on our existing free trade agreements, they are at 5%. However, those electric vehicles are at a higher import tariff classification. It's at 30%. So without naming the China brand, I'm going to say that if it's a 3.28 million peso right now retail without the executive order being in effect, that is VAT inclusive, the landed cost of that, removing, of course, the VAT first, is 2.8 million. You add back the VAT, well, from that, sorry. So you can do the math. I have to teach everyone how to do the math. So they have an idea, so I don't get asked already. So determine the country of origin. It's 0% if it's manufactured from the ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, 5% if it's from Korea, 15% if it's from Japan, and 30% every other country in the world. Country of origin. So if it's Europe, US, that sort of thing. So in this example, it's from China. So it's others, it's 30%. Of course, the prices, the suggested retail cost includes VAT already. You take away the 12%, you come out with the landed cost. Then remove the percentage depending on the country of origin. In my example, if it's 3.8 million, remove the VAT, it will be at 2.8 million. You take out the 30% and then you add the VAT back, the 12%. So magically, how much would be the savings? It's almost close to 1 million. So that's the estimated savings. For those vehicles under 3 million, the savings will range anywhere from 100 to 500,000. So it will depend on the country of origin and the value of the vehicle. So ulitin ko na ulit. So there is really savings coming in. But we have to make sure that the executive order is in effect and that any rules come into play. Going by how government operates, we can expect the fine details of this to be safely in place, definitely towards the end of the first semester of 2023. Rest assured, us here in the DOE will be actively pushing to get that in place already, because as mentioned by Sir Carl and Sir Tonichi earlier, this is a game changer for us. Of course, we're still trying to work on other factors to bring down the cost, but this plus the exemption from volume vehicle reduction schemes, I think that will be the game changer that will accelerate our adoption. But thank you for the question. If you need, again, the computation, I will gladly teach you again, because so I don't get asked. Just kidding for that. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much, Director Aquino, for that. And I believe, just to reiterate to all our guests watching now, a recording of this whole webinar will be sent to everybody who registered and who attended this afternoon. Kaya kung kailangan nilang balikan yung computation na yun, aside from getting to ask you directly, I'm sure they can go over it when the recording is sent. Okay, so since we still have you here, Director Patrick, we have one more question for you, sir, if you wouldn't mind. Should one be interested in investing in charging stations for public consumption? How do you monetize it?
Very good question. Well, under the EVIDA, what we have is that the rates for charging are deregulated. So it's not covered by the typical items that you comply with in the selling, quote unquote, of electricity, which is governed by the EPIRA, the Electric Power Industry Reform Act. So with the passage of EVIDA, it's very clear that charging stations, the rates are unbundled. Now, having said that, what is the unbundling? How will it happen? At present, the DOE has already stated on record that we are just waiting for the issuance of the Comprehensive Roadmap for the Electric Vehicle Industry, or CREVI. And our commitment is to have the CREVI in place before the end of March 2023. And we will do parallel public consultations as well on the EV accreditation, EV charging station accreditation issuance, as well as the issuance for the unbundling of rates. So it is my gentle way of saying that to safely collect any charging fees, you will be able to do so most likely towards the start of the second quarter of 2023. I am reminding our colleagues who are, charging, quote unquote, the law speaks of unbundling. Of course, our goal is compliance. But what we've reminded them, that's why for most of the charging infra that you've seen, They have opted to do it as a demonstration. If you go around the malls, no charges I'm being told are being collected for the charging, but for the parking, yes, of course. And we hope to get that clarity on. But since it's already also asked, I'll jump the gun. How does the DOE envision the unbundling to proceed? We've seen people charging wherein it's just a rate of the charging fee and then a service fee. Our concept of unbundling, at the very least, have to be very clear, is that the electricity component is separated. So similar to how you see it in the electric bills that we have, at the very least, it's very clear this goes to the generation of the electricity charge. The other items we can have the discussion, but at the very least, that should be clearly spelled out. And we have not, personally, I have not seen a unbundled quote unquote that meets that requirement as of the moment. So thank you for the question. I think I said a lot more answers than what was asked.
Okay, thanks again, Director Patrick. We have another question here for you. Sorry kung tuloy-tuloy siya. Considering concerns regarding the supply of electricity, how is DOE preparing for the power demand that will be coming from EVs?
Okay, to be clear, we are in our previous webinar, we've explained that in terms of supply, we do have a lot of generation coming in. It's just that the timing of the generation doesn't necessarily align with us meeting those periods wherein our demand may be higher or the reserves may be not as ideal as we would like. But the beauty about electric vehicles is that you can determine when to charge the electric vehicles. And as shown by our colleagues, Sir Tunichi and Sir Carl earlier, what you've seen is that outside of situations wherein you need the midway top up, which happens during peak hours, most of the charging will actually happen outside the peak hours. And for us here in the National Capital Region, here in the Luzon grid, the peak hours happens in the 10 in the morning to around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And what happens during the time, if you think about it, these vehicles are actually on the road. These vehicles are actually being used. And that's what we're saying. There's going to be minimal impact because majority of the charging, based on what we've seen, happens outside the peak hours. It happens overnight. And if there is a need for charging, just to be very clear, we can control and we can coordinate when they can charge. We can take it out of those critical periods of 10 in the morning to 2 or 3 in the afternoon. They can do their top outs outside that. And depending even on the charge of vehicles, as I mentioned by Tunichi earlier, there's even a potential to do repowering or sending back the power from the EVs to the grid to help. So rather than viewing EVs as a potential concern for the grid in terms of supply, it can even assist us in managing demand. I think that's how the DOE is viewing it. That's why we are seeing electric as a solution rather than a emerging problem. I hope that allays the concern. And just to round up what our colleagues from the EPIMB, I think Director Exconde a couple of weeks back highlighted, that there's enough supply coming in. What we have a situation on is on the reserves. These are part and parcel of why the DOE is working hand in hand with the Energy Regulatory Commission to make sure that there's no funny business happening when power generation plants all of a sudden go offline. We are very much aware of what has happened during a low demand situation like December. We are having yellow and red alerts like what we had in this week, just this week. That's why we're working hand in hand with the Energy Regulatory Commission to determine and make sure that our power plants are really up to date. But the long-term, medium-term outlook, we're seeing a lot of capacity coming in. We will have a tight, I'll say challenging summer, a hot dry season next year. That's why we welcome Meralco's initiatives in communicating with our partners and stakeholders, because there are solutions. Here at the DOE and Meralco, we talk about solutions because we really have the ability to overcome or hurdle these concerns. And as you've seen, the proof is the reality that even if there were alerts, there was no power interruption that we've experienced this week. So I think if we continue our conversation and people and stakeholders are informed, we would have no issues in bringing in EVs and in managing our concerns for 2023. Thank you.
Thanks, Director Patrick. On that note, we have another question for you, sir. Are there programs to encourage local car manufacturers to build or manufacture locally made EVs?
Yes, of course. That is a major component of the comprehensive roadmap for the electric vehicle industry, or PREVI. Our colleagues from the Department of Trade and Industry is actually looking at that. It's also making sure that the necessary training on the human resource development. I did see a question on that in our group chat. Yes, we will be bringing in. That's why I am attending events like this, because Isakay, to their credit, is bringing in an integrated solution. When you go with them, for example, they not only bring in their expertise in terms of the electric vehicles that suits your requirements, they bring in the infra, plus they bring in the support. And that is what we are really encouraging, at least at the early stages, that the infrastructure, EV charging infrastructure, and then the support happens. So when you go with an established partner, such as in this case, Isakay, working hand in hand, let's say, with Meralco, you have a clear picture that when you do your EV or sustainability journey with them for transportation, you're assured that you will get the necessary support. And in terms of addressing the fly-by-night, we're seeing those fly-by-nights already. Rest assured that the message is loud and clear from our two private sector speakers. Government will get its act together and come out with something uniform to send a clear message that we are after quality electric vehicles, quality, safe, efficient electric vehicles and charging stations, because we owe nothing but that to the Filipino people. And we will work hand in hand with our private sector partners to make sure that is our reality, not our aspiration.
So now to follow up with that question, to hop on over to the other side of the fence, what would be the benefits then for customers to enjoy if mag-shift naman po sila to electric vehicles?
I think that Tonichi and Sir Carl articulated it very well. They started the EV journey way earlier than DOE. To be clear, DOE just entered the EV and EV charging station game in 2017. They were doing this far earlier than that. I think 2010 or even 2009. And what I can assure you that even on the DOE side, with our less than half a decade experience, the numbers and economics of EV works. The bonus is that, as mentioned by Sir Carl, passionately, I might say, is that it really helps the future. Because once you ride an electric vehicle, once you know that the vehicle that you're riding can be powered by renewable energy, like solar, you know, it spells a big difference. And you can expect more of that from government. And hopefully, hindi rin magsawa sila Sir Tonichi at sila Sir Carl on going at this. If we are slacking a bit in government, have been taking down notes actually on their insights and the questions, because this is really very important to us. We want to get this right. We want government to be able to help our people to do this. And then I might just have to say, to allay the concerns with respect to the mandatory nature, because there's this provision. It's not asked. It's an elephant in the room that private sector will be required to shift to electric a certain percentage. Let me just be clear. There will be no mandate without a pathway for compliance. We will work hand in hand with the private sector, with you, in making sure that the concerns are allayed. And as I mentioned, government will be the first to get that mandate. We will not be asking our private sectors partners to go into this journey without government taking the lead. So you will expect EV and EV charging stations to be deployed first in government, I mean being mandatory in nature, before we talk about mandating it with our private sector. Para lang ma-address yung concern kasi it's an elephant in the room eh. But having said that also, we do not discourage our private sector participants and stakeholders to go into this journey because you know, ang kulang nilang Sir Carl and Sir Tonichi, Miss Joy, ang request ko, you have this very nice ad that you ran at the start of the program. Wherein if you can also share that similar ad and theme on the actual experiences on the electric vehicle. Baka naman hashtag sana all magawan rin yun ng ad kasi at least on us I can confirm it really is once you go electric the ride everything but I can't do it alone. That's why we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Patrick. Okay, so we have one more room. We have room for one more question, and I'm not sure if you were able to touch on this earlier in the previous questions, but for the sake of reading it out, Director Aquino, this could be your last question for this afternoon. When will the excise tax exemption for EV purchase or imports be implemented?
Okay, actually, the excise tax suspension for electric vehicles, that's already in play. That was enacted with the train law. So that was in 2018. So right now, the figures that I quoted, if it's 100% electric, there's zero excise tax. If it's not pure electric, so it's a hybrid or plug-in hybrid, it comes in at 50% excise tax. So there's an existing law already on that. What we're talking about is on the ad valorem import duties, because there's a lot of other things that goes into it. And fortunately, we were able to work that out to bring down that component. But offhand, personally, we're still continuing to work and advocating for bringing down the cost further. I cannot speak for our eco managers, but we're also looking at possibly either doing a support program or even having that other elephant in the room, having the VAT, be not there, at least in a short term. But we have to align also with the requirements of our government's resources. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Director Patrick. As much as we would like to continue having this conversation with you, unfortunately, from what I understand, you're gonna have to step out already. So, Director Patrick, maraming salamat po sa inyo. And to everybody watching right now, let's all give Director Patrick Aquino a warm round of applause. Sir, one last message, just in case you want to share something before we let you go.
Yeah, of course. Again, thank you to our partners in Meralco. And let me just assure them, hindi po ako magsasawang suportahan kayo at hindi rin naman po kayong nagsasawang suportahan kami. And to those who are joining us, if you have ideas, comments, the government, at least for the DOE, we're welcoming all of that. We want to make sure that we get this right. And we get this right by listening to everyone and making sure that all the best ideas are integrated in how we do things. So government is listening, government is really at your service, and we hope to make this really an electric future for all of us. Maraming salamat po.
All right, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Director Patrick Aquino. Maraming salamat po, sir. Wow, appreciate it. Especially after answering those marathon of questions. Okay, so going back to our two very esteemed speakers also still here with us. Our next question, I'm going to throw to you, Sir Carl. Do we have wide repair technicians and spare parts available in Metro Manila?
Okay, with regard to that aspect, as you know, the repair and maintenance and parts availability of these EVs are also in lockstep with the type of EV that are being deployed. So meaning, for example, if we one of our partners, no, if I may say, no, for example, BYD, no, so all the maintenance and parts, no, are done by BYD as well. And I think that is also what is clear with our partnerships with the different suppliers, no, that we are working with in providing that full ecosystem. No, our requirement is to be able to support each and every deployment that we do. No, even after the warranty period of the vehicle. I think that is very clear. And what is also clear, no, as the development of this EV industry in the Philippines, no, progresses in the coming years, we would see more and more specialty shops coming up, no, skills, no, are developed, no. As a matter of fact, that is one of the provisions of EVIDA, no, wherein TESDA will actually be supporting the training, no, for special skills needed to support EVs. So that will eventually also be developed and will rise in number. But what we can assure you, and I think this is what was very clearly stated also by Director Aquino earlier, no, in partnering with the right partners like Meralco and Isakay, no, you are assured that your EV journey is supported all throughout. It's not just about the initial implementation of the program, but the sustainability of your EV program in your own businesses.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much, Sir Carl. Now moving on to our next question. This is for you again, Mr. Anthony Agoncillo, aka Sir Tonichi. Sir Tonichi, what is the difference between AC and DC charging?
Okay. For this question, I don't want to go too technical, no, Kevin. But suffice to say, AC or alternating current is the one that is available in our homes, in our offices, no. For a battery inside the vehicle to be charged, there is a need to convert AC, okay, into DC or direct current, because batteries are direct current, okay. So that means that because the converter is inside the vehicle, there is a limitation as to the size of the converter. Meaning then that AC charging is not as fast, cannot be done as fast as it could be done for DC charging. All right. Okay. But then that makes AC very ubiquitous. No? So it is as common as your outlet, as any appliance that is basically plugged into your outlet. All right. DC chargers, because the converter is in the charger itself, they can make it as big as possible. So as I showed in my presentation earlier, no, currently there's a Shell, no, has installed a 180 kilowatt charger, DC charger, no, in their Mount Plasan outlet. It's the fastest already in the Philippines as of now. But in other countries, we have seen that there are 600 kilowatt, even up to 1,000 kilowatt DC chargers. No? So those chargers, no, will bring down the charging time to minutes, probably as quick as 2 minutes in some instances. No? Okay, so that's the basic difference. No? DC charging is really for fast charging implementations. No? And this will make commercial fleet very, very viable when it is already available. And the technology is coming. It is already basically, it's almost at the doorstep now. It's just that it's being tested in other countries, but we can expect that it will be here soon. We can't wait, because I know that everybody is waiting for that technology, because then, as Kenneth mentioned, no, it will make EV and EV use very, very much viable for everybody. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much, Sir Tonichi, for that electrical lesson in a nutshell. Okay, now next question for you again, Sir Carl. When can we expect e-trucks to be available in the market?
Good question. Actually, you know, in other markets, no, globally, there are already usage for e-trucks. You know, but when you say e-trucks again, there are different capacities. You know, from the light trucks to the heavy duty trucks. But here in the Philippines, no, what I have shared earlier, we are proud to say that we have already introduced or be able to provide one of our logistics clients, a light truck that can be used for logistics. It's a 4-tonner truck, and it's full electric, and we are now also in the process of finalizing another possible offering from one of our product partners, for a 5-tonner truck, for delivery services, container type of cargo trucks. So definitely these trucks will be coming soon in the market. And just to also put things into perspective, there are a lot of EVs that are already available in the market, even buses, big electric vehicles, but it's all about economics. And it's still, there are instances, especially when you talk about these big type of electric vehicles that require massive batteries to be able to move the weight being carried by this type of vehicles. That would also mean very expensive costs. So efficiency of EVs when it comes to power output and to cost is still determined by its size. So right now, what we see that is viable in the market, economically viable for the market, especially for commercial use, would be more on the light truck segment, commercial vans, and commercial light trucks. So we will be focusing on those in the meantime, and as we see progression in the development of more compact batteries, more powerful batteries, to be able to support bigger type of EVs at a more economical cost, then that's when we will see more of these types of applications, for like dump trucks or trailer trucks, or even tourist buses, to be in the Philippines. But definitely right now, for small businesses, especially that who would like to have commercial vehicles, light commercial vehicles converted to EVs, we definitely have some offerings available already in the market.
All right, thank you, Sir Carl. Now, hopping on back to you, Sir Tonichi, is there a charging station that uses solar panels as an energy source to minimize the cost of your electricity bills?
Thank you for this question. You may be surprised to know the answer, Kevin. As early as 2013, when we put up our first prototype EV charging station here in Meralco, in the Meralco Power Lab, we already utilized solar panels as an alternative source of energy. We wanted to prove to the public, even at that time, 9 years ago, that EV solar charging works, right? And solar PV at the time was really at the cusp lang, of being introduced in the market. But we're really showing that even for charging of EVs, it is viable. All right. So fast forward 9 years now. Okay. So there are, if I may say, there are a lot of solar charging stations that are available. I mentioned Shell. Shell has implemented a solar panel system in their Mamplasan outlet. It is to assist in the charging of the EVs that are going there. Also, again, in our head office, we are implementing an 8-kilowatt charging station, again, to show to the public that even a bigger charging bay, that let's say you want to put up a 4-bay EV charging station, you can actually place 8 kilowatts of power, okay, to support the needs, especially during peak hours. So Director Patrick mentioned earlier, that if there is concern of the market, if EVs will be charging during peak hours, our solution there is we utilize solar charging, because the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. time frame that he mentioned, that is the peak production output for solar. So it marries complementarily to each other. And I guess if I may also push, we have a subsidiary aside from Isakay. This one is Spectrum. They're the ones that actually install solar panels, and they can help our audience, if they are if they want assistance, not only in terms of EV charging, but also to power their own offices, okay, and their own premises. No? Spectrum can do that for you as well. So it's a side plug, and thank you for the opportunity for us to be able to do that. No, and we're happy to support again any energy need of our customer. Thanks, Kevin.
All right, thank you as well, Sir Tonichi. Now, for our next question, feel free, the two of you, to be able to chime in. I think the two of you can have some insights as well to share with this next question. What are the relevant industries that can go for the EV ecosystem aside from logistics, educational institutions? Sir Tonichi, would you want to take this first?
Yeah, I guess with what I showed again in the EV models, no, EVs does not choose any industry. It is applicable to any and all industries. No, it is up to the imagination of the proprietor of how he wants to utilize EVs. But EVs, as we're saying, is a better choice than conventional. We all know the problems of pollution. We all know the problems that again, fuel costs are wreaking havoc, no, in terms of the operating costs for all of these companies and all. So EVs are the better choice. And I guess it's really just a matter of time and a matter of embracing the technology, understanding that, again, they can easily choose a comparable electric vehicle model to replace what they have in their businesses and apply this, and they'll be surprised. No? Director Patrick was also talking to us about that. No, there is magic. There is magic that happens when you use an EV, such that I think you will be convinced that when you shift to EVs, you will not go back anymore to conventional. Carl, you may have your thoughts about this also.
Oh, thank you, Tonichi. And I totally agree with what Tonichi mentioned, no? That EVs don't choose. You know? For as long as you are using any type of mode of transport, no? Whether it's a bike, it's a scooter, it's a tricycle, it's whatever mode of mobility, you know, EV can cater to that. You know, and I would liken it siguro the transition to perhaps like before. I don't know sa mga I'm not sure the age group of our audience, no, but perhaps remember when our phones were still landlines, and then cell phones came in. Who would have thought that eventually, you know, landline phone would be obsolete and everyone would just be carrying phones, right? Or if doon sa mga medyo millennials, no, remember before everyone was just using Nokia. And then now, where is Nokia? And now it's all about Apples and Androids. You know? So, you know, it's inevitable. Change is going to happen. And now we're going full circle. You know? Remember that the first mode of transport was actually electric back in the, you know, before the rise of ICE, no, in the last century. You know? It was electric. And now we're going full circle. And it is not only because of economics, but more so of the environment, our existence as human beings. And so this is why we at Meralco and Isakay are very firm in our resolve to push electric mobility and its sustainability, because it will impact all of us moving forward in the future generation, our kids, our grandchildren, you know, everyone in the future generation. This will help us, you know, in keeping this a nice world to live in. So that is the benefit of EV. So where can I use EV? You know, for as long as you're using any type of mobility, you can use EV. And that's the better choice, as what Tonichi would say. Thank you.
Sir Carl, you had me sold already. I think it'd be safe to speak on behalf of everybody watching also na parang na-convince na rin sila to consider at the very least, diba, looking into getting EVs. So keeping in line with that, I'm not sure if this is the last question that we're going to be entertaining. Carl, perhaps, Sir Carl, if you can also share with us, who can we tap if we are interested to get electric vehicles?
Oh, well, definitely. If you are to consider EVs, no, in your businesses, please approach Isakai anytime. You can do that through Meralco Biz, through the team of Miss Joy Mendoza. No? They can link us up together so that we can provide you with the necessary guidance and assistance on how best to go into EVs, no, for your businesses. We at Isakai are closely in coordination with our colleagues in Meralco, and we are in full support of any initiatives that Meralco would want to have to push this electric mobility movement. So please reach out to our Meralco Biz partners so that they can assist you in connecting with us and providing you with the assistance to get into EVs for your businesses.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sir Carl. Now, I think we have room for 2 more questions. But just to give everybody watching now a heads up, just in case you were able to send in a question, tapos hindi namin ma-address during this panel discussion, don't worry, we're going to be addressing them even beyond this afternoon's program. All right. So now moving on to the second to the last question that we're going to be discussing right now, I think the 2 of you can also chime in if you'd want to share your thoughts on this. What concerns do we have regarding flooding in Metro Manila if we use electric vehicles? Sir Tonichi, perhaps we can start with you.
Yeah, okay. So again, thank you for the question. The reason, one of the reasons also why Meralco opted to walk the talk and be one of the first in converting our fleets into electric vehicles is that we want to show the market that EVs are viable for daily commercial operations. I'm stressing daily commercial operations because that means that any type of weather, any type of situation, it can be made available. And we are showcasing that electric motorcycles, electric cars, electric vans, electric pickups will work. Okay. And we are willing to subject these vehicles into, again, any type of weather situation. So whether there's floods, we are going to use them. But again, there are reminders that the manufacturers tell us when you should and should not use your EV, right? And so what we do is we follow those reminders. So if they tell us, okay, for your e-motorcycle, for example, make sure that when you do pass a flooded area, it does not exceed the battery level of your e-motorcycle. Okay, so again, and it's nothing different, when you buy a conventional motorcycle. It's also the same thing, the motorcycle manufacturer will tell you, okay, wag mong paaabutin sa tambucho, diba? Kung hindi, mamamatay ang motorsiklo mo, diba? Magfa-flood din yan sa loob, diba? So it's the same thing, And similarly for the cars, for the pickups, for the van, there is a level which the manufacturer is stating as a safe level to utilize EVs, And so it's the same. We just follow that. And again, we've been doing this for 2 years already. Nothing has happened. We've been safe. We've shown that the EVs have worked again for any situation. So hindi lang yan floods, even hilly roads, people are questioning, kaya ba ng EV? Even a Baguio, kaya ba na yan? Honestly, sisi mo ang Baguio sa EV because EVs have 100% torque. It's even more powerful than conventional combustion engine vehicles. Carl, again, you may have your thoughts on this.
Again, I totally agree, I think it's been well said by Tonichi. At the end of the day, every product has its limitations. We're not saying that an EV is flood-proof in the same way that you cannot say that an ICE vehicle is flood-proof. There would always be limitations, and manufacturer specifications. But what we're saying here is, I guess, it's the perception of people, kasi electrical yan. Nako, pag nabasa, makukuryente ako, or masisira. No. These products were well designed to be able to withstand different types of environment. Different vehicles, different types of EVs would have different types of levels of waterproofing, that would be able to withstand any type of weather conditions, no? And even road conditions. Sinasabi rin nila kasi malubak sa Pilipinas, baka madaling masira ang EV kasi mas malubak sa atin, no? I mean, those have all been considered, no? And they work just like any other type of vehicle. And in the same way that they should be taken care of, the same way that we take care of all other products that we have, whether it's an electronic gadget or our vehicles, no, or our appliances, no. We just have to make sure that we follow the manufacturer standards. But in terms of durability, reliability, again, the proof is in the pudding. Meralco has been using all these different types of EVs, no, in its operations, day-to-day operations, no, in the last 2 years.
All right, thank you very much, Sir Tonichi, Sir Carl. So it seems like you are still sticking to what you said earlier, na kapag nag-convert kayo sa electric vehicles, hindi na kayo babalik. Okay, so we have one last question again for the two of you. So feel free to chime in again. And I think I saw a video about this, so it would be nice to get some clarification regarding this as well. Is it true that EVs are exempted from number coding? Does LTO provide exemption papers for EVs? And how about in Makati? Will they honor the exemption of EVs? Sir Carl,
Okay,
do you want to start this?
Yes, again, that has been a very controversial issue, at least in the last 2 weeks. Well, yes, part of the Evida provision is the exemption of full electric battery vehicles. No, when we say kasi electric vehicles, there are different types of electric vehicles, as explained earlier by Tonichi. No, there's the hybrid electric vehicle, there's the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, and there's the battery electric vehicle, or what we call the full electric vehicle. No? As far as I know, and Tonichi, correct me if I'm wrong, as far as I understand the Evida law, no, the exemption on number coding is on full electric vehicle. Now, I think that is where the issue is, because some are claiming also hybrids, no, can be accepted. So I think that is still under clarification until now. But what we can assure you is, at least for full electric vehicles, that is there's a clear exemption on number coding. Now, how will someone, or how will the traffic enforcer, determine if the vehicle is an electric vehicle, especially now that electric vehicles actually look like just your typical car, ICE car. What LTO now is working on, to get as part of the Evida and the CREVI roadmap, is to have special plates eventually, designed for electric vehicles. But for now, I guess it's going to be a challenge in terms of implementation. I think there would be there have been instances where pinapara, like owners of, I've heard some friends, who are driving EVs na paparahin pa rin, but once they see that it's electric, then they're not ticketed. I think that's a challenge. So we'll have to go through that until such time that there is a clear identification, that the vehicle is an EV. And I believe that is in the works right now, in terms of having a plate designed specific for electric EVs. Now, when it comes to Republic of Makati, yes, I understand that concern because I live in Makati. And if I'm not mistaken, Makati needs to comply because it is the law. Remember, the number coding is actually just an order, a policy by MMDA. So it is actually just it's dependent on the different LGUs, that are part of that policy created by MMDA. But now, because this is law, under the law, then Makati has no choice but to comply with the law. And we have proven that because Isakay is actually has a fleet of electric jeeps that are running between Mandaluyong and Makati City. And since then, all our jeeps, regardless of whether they're coding or not, are able to ply the roads of Makati. And some of especially their MAPSA, their notorious MAPSAs, are, I think, already aware of that provision from Evida. So, Tonichi, anything to add?
Yeah. So Carl, just to clarify, I guess you posed a question. So even if Evida was really supposedly for pure EVs, as you mentioned, The good thing is, government and even MMDA, was kind enough to include all types of EVs in the exemption. So even hybrids, Carl, are also included. So yung mga Nissan Kicks na yan, even the Toyota Prius, as far as I know, are included. So it's an extra perk, I guess, for EV owners, and soon to be owners. It's also good because, as we know, it may be transitionary, I guess during this time that the availability of models is really just oncoming. It is really good to incentivize people. But again, probably later on, there might be some strict implementation of really who will be allowed to avail of this. But again, as of now, let's all enjoy it. So everyone who wants to be exempted from number coding, let's go EV. Yeah. So I guess again, nothing beats that. If you don't want to buy another car, or you don't want to have, you can't accept 2 cars in your garage, then just have an EV and enjoy all of these benefits. Help the environment, be sustainable, lower your operating costs, and at the same time, best benefit of all, no number coding.
All right, thank you very much, Sir Tunichi, Sir Carl. Nice sana, to be able to measure how many people actually get to purchase EVs after this presentation dahil sa inyong dalawa. Because I think for me, the next vehicle that I'm going to be purchasing, definitely it has to be at least a hybrid vehicle already. But a future-proofing to a certain extent, right? Okay, so as much as we would like to entertain as much of your questions during the formal part of this afternoon's program, this is as much time as we can give. So reminding everybody, for those that sent in their questions, don't worry, we're going to be addressing them even beyond the conclusion of this afternoon's program. So with that, I would like to once again thank our very esteemed speakers for this afternoon, Mr. Anthony Agoncillo and Mr. Carl Magsusi. Maraming salamat po sa inyong dalawa. But before we let you go, perhaps one final message to everybody watching right now. Sir Tunichi, perhaps you would want to start this.
Okay, so again, this is to invite everybody. Let's go for the EV ride. Let's take the magical ride into the future. Kevin is right. This is the future. You want to future-proof your purchases, and nothing better than to go EV already because it's inevitable. We cannot stop it. Carl already mentioned what happened to Nokia. It's gone. So it's going to happen also to conventional vehicles. Okay. And because of that, we are here. Meralco is here to help you. Isakai is here to help you. And also, as mentioned, Spectrum is also here to help you. So all of these together, we can help your company get a solution that is not only sustainable, but is also worthy of your pockets. Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you, Sir Tunichi. And finally, Sir Carl, anything you'd like to share to everybody watching right now?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank Meralco Biz for inviting me here and be able to present what Isakai can offer our partners and our colleagues. And I think one message here is, our future towards green mobility and, a sustainable future begins here and now. And let Meralco and Isakai be your partner in this new journey. Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone.
All right, so there you have it. Thank you very much once again to both our speakers for this afternoon. So to everybody watching, let's show them some love. A virtual round of applause once again for Mr. Anthony Agoncillo and Mr. Carl Magsusi. Really appreciate the time and the insights. Okay, so circling back to what I was mentioning earlier, for those of you who have questions that were not addressed during this Q&A session, we're going to be reaching out to you after this afternoon's program. You may also encode your concerns or requests through our concerns form via the link posted in our chat box, or you may scan the QR code that you see right now, which is flashed on your screens. And in case you have other power-related inquiries, you may also reach out to our biz partner managers through the channels being flashed on your screens right now. Before we take this out, feel free to take a screenshot or to take a picture. Very vital information flashed right now. Okay, so before we announce the winners of our trivia challenge that we played earlier this afternoon, why don't we do another quick poll for everybody here? Meralco Biz wants to ensure that you can reach us whenever and wherever you need us. So while we love doing these webinars with you and for you, don't we all miss seeing each other face to face? So let me ask you, for future Meralco events, would you still prefer to have it either online like this webinar, on ground, where you can meet with your Meralco Biz partner managers face-to-face, or katulad ng mga EVs, hybrid, where you have the option to go on-site while the event is being streamed live online? So we're going to be launching the poll right now. It's in a prompt at the bottom part of your screens. There is a poll option there. All you need to do is just click on it, and please choose what you feel you would like to have for the future events. Nice to be able to see it real time. So hybrid is the leader right now. Very understandable. So there's some flexibility. Para na rin makapagkita din tayo face-to-face, but for those that aren't able to attend, at least they can also be part of the event indirectly. Okay, so thank you again to everyone's feedback. Really appreciate it. This will definitely help us in planning our future events. Okay. So now with that out of the way, we are ready to announce the winners of our trivia challenge. Okay. So I don't think we're going to be flashing your names on screen. So please pay attention because I will be reading out the names of the lucky winner. Okay. Sorry. We have one more question for the poll. Okay. Earlier, before we announce the trivia winners. Okay. So earlier we got to find out kung anong gusto niyong type of event, if online, on ground, or hybrid. Now, we will try to find out if you feel it's best, what day of the week, and if you feel it's better kung morning or afternoon yung mga future events natin. So we're going to be launching the poll again right now. Do you like or would you prefer our future Power Up events in the morning or in the afternoon? So again, all you need to do is just click on the prompt down at the bottom part of the window and let us know if you prefer it either in the morning or in the afternoon. So from the looks of it, karamihan sa atin, magkapareho tayo. We're not really that big of a morning person. So best to have it in the afternoon. Thank you again to everybody who chimed in. Really appreciate your feedback. This will help us in planning our future Power Up events. Thank you so much. Okay, so now picking up from where we left off, it's now time to announce the winners of our trivia challenge for today's program. So please pay attention because here are the winners. Congratulations, Abigail Meman from Golden Donuts Incorporated. Congratulations, Michelle Valdez from Rakatech Builders Corporation. And congratulations, Christopher Ong from Baker's Fair and Food Mart Inc. So once again, Abigail Meman, Michelle Valdez, and Christopher Ong, congratulations to all of you. Please wait for the message and personal call from our Meralco representatives who will advise you on how to claim your prize. Okay, so now before we conclude this webinar session, we would highly appreciate it if you can answer our short survey in just a few steps because we value your inputs and insights and we would highly welcome receiving your feedback regarding your experience here at Meralco Power Up Live. So once again, please scan the QR code that you now see on your screens, or alternatively, you can also choose to just click on the link that we are now posting onto your chat boxes. And with that, you have certainly been a most cooperative audience, and it has truly been an insightful afternoon, to say the least. I hope everybody has been enlightened by the green mobility and EV solutions presented by our distinguished panel of speakers. And with that, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon, and we hope to see you again in the next edition of Meralco Power Up Live, Powering Business Resilience. I'm Kevin La Peña. Stay healthy and safe, and please have a pleasant day, everybody. Thank you very much, and hope to see you guys soon.